90% of homelessness and runaway kids come from single mother homes. 85% of men sitting in federal prisons today come from single parent homes. 85% of children with behavioral disorders come from single mother homes. 80% of rapists come from single mother homes. 71% of high school dropouts come from single mother homes. So,
For
a
sure.
name I'm pretty sure everybody on this podcast knows, Kevin Samuels, the Godfather. Kevin Samuels was a phenomenon, and sadly, he died last year. What were your thoughts on Kevin Samuels and his impact on the black community? Will, I'm gonna let you start off with this one, okay?
All right. So first, let me premise it. I've seen I've seen at least 90% of Kevin's content going back to 2016, 2017 when he first got on YouTube. So when I speak, I'm speaking having a much larger context of what his mission was beyond just sort of the hyperbole that's out there. Starting with the men, Kevin was excellent in addressing essentially what we're kind of talking about here, but really starting with the men, understanding what we what it's going to take in order for us to be the leaders of our community, right? It's going to take discipline in all areas of life. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take dedication, purpose, such and so forth, right? He was very hard on us black men because we were not as accountable as we should be. The women who did not like Kevin, if they heard the things that Kevin said about the men, they would be standing up and clapping and applauding him because he said what women have said better than the women say.
He said what guys like us say about bum dudes or whatever.
Exactly. So that's the men. As far as the women is concerned, look, I understand that women are far more emotional. So there's a little bit more tact that goes into how to deal with them. But the flip side is that same tact that women are asking of men, they don't give that back to men, right? So when you hear, I remember being a kid and seeing my mom watch these Ricky Lakes and these Oprah shows and stuff, and Jerry Springer and all this kind of, and the women would be dragging the men on those shows, and the men look like buffoons sitting up there. Now, they should have never been there to begin with, which is a whole nother conversation, but they were dragging those men up there. Whether it's in movies, Waiting to Exhale is a horrible movie. Color Purple was a horrible movie in the way that they cast the light on black men. Those a male version of Waiting to Exhale where they're dragging the women, or a male version of Color Purple where they're making the women look horrible, that would never be approved because of the way that society makes sure that we do not hurt women to a certain extent, beyond a certain extent is what I'm saying. So just to kind of wrap it up, from what Kevin was talking about with the women, it was harsh, but it was needed because the truth hurts. Everybody knows that the truth hurts, but when it comes knocking at your door, it is hard to deal with it. But men, because we live in a world where we're not coddled, we know from boyhood that life is going to be hard for us. If we don't get up and do what we need to do, we're going to be out on the street, right? But we're not in the same. We don't see the world the same way because we don't have the same experiences. So I just kind of leave it there.
All right, Eric, go ahead. I saw you raise your hand, bro. Go ahead.
Oh man, The Godfather was he was excellent, man. I really have no reason to listen to his message for women because I am not that. But I listened to his stuff for men, and the man was fired. There was a gentleman who called. I remember I was on my way home from the gym. I just finished doing some cardio, and I was listening to Kevin talk to a young man. I think he worked at like a telecommunications, like AT&T or Verizon, something like that. And he asked the guy, "How much do you make?" And the guy was like, like 46,000 or something like that. And Kevin's like, "Why are you complaining about not being able to get a woman and you're not out getting the money you're supposed to be getting?" He's like, "If you're not willing to commit 60 hours a week to getting that bread, you don't deserve a woman." And when he said that, I was like, dang. Right. I thought that was harsh. But then I thought, because I'm already married, I had, I think, 2 kids at the time. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, yo, if I'm not willing to go out and do whatever I got to do to get to that 200, 300K a year mark, then I was like, I'm blessed to have my wife. She loves me, but I don't feel like I'm doing enough. So it started making me think, am I doing enough for my family? Am I hunting enough to bring home? Am I investing enough to make sure that my kids and my wife have what they need to be happy in this country that's very capitalistic? So Kev, he had me thinking a lot about myself as a man, and even his episodes on dressing, grooming, how a
Mm-hmm.
man should present himself. He was talking about like how you should wash your face. He's like, a black man should never be walking around with an oily face. And I was like, dang. And sometimes I'd be oily as heck. So I started like, keeping something with me. And I was like, yo, he hit on a lot of good things, man. So I understand a lot of women thought he was harsh. I think especially maybe some women who haven't had good fortune in dating, they thought he might have been a little harsh. But other women who had a lot of success tend to not really have a problem with what he was saying. So obviously he might not have been for all, but for me, I even watched some of his episodes with my wife, and she was like, "Yeah, you need to be learning from the Godfather." So man, he was a blessing, man, and it was a terrible passing. I know a lot of people were hurt by it. He'll be truly missed.
Yep. All right, let's get some of the female energy up here. Ladies, what are your thoughts on Kevin Samuels on The Godfather?
So I didn't. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Dr. Kimmy. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So I didn't really follow him a lot, but I had to read about him to know more of what he did. I think sometimes to be controversial and to be harsh is the only way to gather traction and to get the point across. So I appreciated that approach, and it was probably made extreme more intentionally just for the virality and the traction. But that harshness sometimes is the message that needs to be heard. Yes, his message to women sometimes was inappropriate, but at least he got conversations going and conversations that were useful. So that's my take. And I'll also use this opportunity to just apologize that I have to leave to put my kids to bed. This has been a wonderful discussion. I've really enjoyed being on the panel with you all.
Thank you, Dr. Mokai. Your voice is always wanted. Thank you.
Thank
you. Kim, how about yourself? Marsha L., how about yourself? What are your thoughts on The Godfather, Kevin Samuels?
I'm piggybacking off of Dr. Kemi. I didn't follow him too much. I've seen some of the viral clips, of course. I think it's always good to start a conversation. And I like the fact that for the men portion, they found someone that they could have this example or someone to speak their voice and their concerns, because I feel like the Black man's voice needs to be heard. Sometimes we don't know how to 100% articulate it without having to get all this backlash. But I will say something in regards to what Eric said, and I was thinking about it this week, and it just broke my heart because I feel like so much pressure is put on the Black man, on men in general, to be providers, especially in this country. But when I think about like my uncles in Haiti, like they take care of their children and their wives in Haiti, in Paris, and don't stress as much. And as someone who's been able, by the grace of God, to navigate corporate, I feel like I have a wonderful partner, and I almost like I can't be that person. I don't want him to feel like he has to break his back. I am trying to create a way to where, because I never want him to get an email at 3 a.m. and feel like he's less of a man, because this is not real. This is an oyster that is isolated to the United States of America. I feel the same with my brother. I'm like, I'll buy you a food truck and we're going to figure it out. And if a woman ever thinks that they're going to go ahead and give you a quantitative value based on what's on your account, drop them. And I come from a very hardworking family. I 100% agree. But if he's making $45,000, honestly, do you know he's like balling in Florida? Because people don't get paid in Florida. I'm just gonna go ahead and put that out there. And the average American, I don't even think is making $45,000. And if it's a genuinely good woman, together, if she's making at least 30, then we have 60, and they have good financial literacy, they can buy a home, or they can start an investment property.
Yeah.
So I just feel like we have that narrative you're doing right, Eric. You are truly amazing. After the vasectomy comment, you are top 10, because that's sacrifice, that's love. But I always feel like it's only in America. I got friends that got married in Brazil. He's from LA, and they just bought a house. He's a producer, and he was like, he's so happy. But I feel like he was just under so much stress that he couldn't even be the man he wanted to be because he was having to pay all these bills that never end. I felt so bad. So yeah.
All right, Eric, go ahead.
If you don't mind, I hear what you're saying, and it's like I would love to be content, but it's like, one, what happens if I pass? Okay, my life insurance policy, my wife, I don't even think she'd get enough money to finish paying off our house. You know what I mean? And it's like, I want my wife to taste real freedom. Mm-hmm. And when they emancipated Black people, they told us we were free. But are we? Really? You know what I'm saying? Really. I started, you know how they tell you, if you're not dreaming so big, it sounds crazy, you're not dreaming big enough. My dream was that for my wife, not just 3 properties. I want us to have several properties that we can will out to our children, have it all, you know what I'm saying, entrusted, and have large investments. And then on top of that, I don't want her working. I want her just working when she feels like it. Therefore, my kids have access to her. Because the way this rat race is, if me and her are both working, yeah, we make great money, but like, who's home with the kids? You know what I mean? They're not really seeing us. But I'm like, listen, if I could take the fall and I can go out there and hustle and make the money I am making, and she's allowed to be home, she can rest, and they get full access to her, to me, I'm at least giving them a form of freedom. That's how I see it. And I know that's what I gained from Kevin Samuels, man. You got to hustle, and when you get that money, that's when you're able to take vacation when you want, or just do whatever you want. Because, you see what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does. I'll say this about Kevin Samuels. The first time somebody said, Chris, what do you think about this brother? I listened to like 2 minutes of his clips, and I'll say, this guy sounds like my father. He sounds like my uncle. He sounds like my grandfather. Those are the kind of men that I grew up around. They were like, you're not a real man if you're not providing. You're not a real man if you're not willing to get up and defend your wife on a subway, or defend your wife at the middle of the night because you hear a bump in the night. You're not a real man if you're sitting around waiting for a woman or the government to take care of you. That's how my father talked to me. There was nothing new about Kevin Samuels. To be honest with you, he wasn't that harsh at all compared to what my father told me and my brothers, and what my uncles and my grandfather told me about, you're a man, this is how it is to be a Black man in America. So Kevin Samuels, there was nothing honestly surprising about him. Now, unfortunately, because we live in a society that's been so weakened or whatever and demasculated, a lot of people don't grow up with fathers in the house. So they hear a guy like that and they're like, wow, he's so controversial. No, he's not. That's how me, Will, and Eric talk to each other when we're in the barbershop. Simple as that. If we got a bum dude in our group, he's not providing, we pull him to the side and say, look, bro, you're bringing the rest of the crew down. You need to step your game up because you don't belong with us if you don't. Yeah. That's how men talk to each other. Unfortunately, we live in a very soft society, so people don't see that. Another thing I liked about Kevin Samuels too is that he pushed the Black family. He pushed getting married, and he was the first Black guy that I saw honestly on YouTube that basically was dropping facts about, okay, you want to be a bachelor your entire life. Are you going to have $2.5 million when you retire? Okay, you want to be you're a feminist. You want to be a rebel. You never want to get married. Cool. Are you going to have $3 million when you retire? Are you going to be able to survive from 65 to 85 basically in retirement? He was the first person that I saw basically talking about realists that basically talked about how to retire with dignity and respect from a financial perspective. And when I do my financial consulting with people, I'm flat out amazed at how people have literally no financial literacy whatsoever when it comes to what 65 to 85 is going to look like. Will, you're in the same field. It's kind of scary considering how poor people's financial literacy is. So rest in peace to the Godfather. I think that the world would be a better place if more Black men honestly listen to some of the things that he said. And yeah, there was a shock value. Yeah, he said things that were kind of cruel and controversial. But at the end of the day, I think that our community lost a gem. They lost a person who pushed family. They lost a person who pushed finance. And I ride with them because of that. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's just cut right to the point. How do we get more of our people to start investing in retirement accounts and brokerage accounts? Will, you're in the finance world. I'll let you start with this one, okay?
Childhood, education, desire. The other part of it, actually, to be honest, is tangible. We have to have discretionary income to be able to do that. You know, a lot of us are in, living check to check or living almost check to check, right? So if you don't have enough discretionary income, even if you have the knowledge, if you don't have the money, you just can't do anything, right? So it's twofold, really. It really comes down to having the education to be able to do so, and then having the discretionary income to be able to put it to good use. You know, I don't know how we can necessarily fix the latter, but at least having the education is a starting point. So we have to start teaching our kids from youth. We have to have them reading more, get off of social media. I'm not really a big proponent of teaching people on social media, the fact that people sort of have a shorter attention span online, and when they go to social media, they're going there for entertainment. They're not going there for education. So education has to be its own separate practice per se, and we do have to get back to the basics: reading books, being in our quiet time, studying, just like we did when we were in elementary school, junior high school, and really go from there.
Got you. Kim, how about yourself? How do we change this narrative in regards to retirement accounts, brokerage accounts? How do we get more of our people to do what you're doing as well, to essentially build that generational wealth?
I just as Will said, education from young. I opened my Bank of America came to my inner city public school, and they let us open a savings account. And if you brought any type of money, they would let you pay an extra 30 minutes outside or something crazy like that. I would bring a penny. I have that same account saved here, and now it's completely different. But I learned the importance of, I remember that it was like a special day, it was like a Wednesday, and I would just be like, I gotta find a penny. And if anything you brought, they would put it in that savings account. And it just taught me, and they had a conversation, but that was third grade. This is right before 9/11, so it's probably 2000, the year 2000. And if we can start just planting those seeds, and like you said, you need something, but I really just had a penny. I'm pretty sure my mom thought it was humorous, but then my mom also gave me a checkbook. She taught me the importance of credit very young, so that my mom had to do a lot because my dad passed away when I was very young. And so I would pay for my transportation in school. And I learned to write a check, and I would pay my $20 in a check, and she taught me how to do that, how to write a letter, how to write it up so that you can mail it off. A lot of our kids don't know that because they don't hold pencils. Everything's electronic. They want so much socials. We kind of got that blessing of not knowing technology and then getting introduced to it. I'm sure if we look at penmanship, they might not even be able to create their own signature. So it really is going to back to those basic principles. And that will lead to sitting and looking at what a Roth IRA is. It's overwhelming. If you don't know, you'll feel like you're taking advantage of because of the trust issues, especially that Blacks have with banks, and rightfully so. So it would need one of us who is integral, because a lot of the times, if it's a Black banker, some people are hesitant and they'll be Black on the other side. Versus if it's a white person saying, oh yeah, invest here, they might be like, maybe I'll do it. But are they giving us honest information? So it's a process.
Well, I started Financipation just for that reason.
Right.
There you go.
I agree with everything you guys are saying in regards to that. I actually started Financipation because I got sick and tired, as I said earlier, of our people not knowing what a Roth IRA was, what a HSA was, what a 401k was. They don't talk about that stuff in the barbershop. We don't talk about that stuff in the barbecues. We don't talk about that stuff in the hood. It's just, and we need to change that. Yep. So in October 2022, President Joe Biden decriminalized marijuana, and he decriminalized marijuana and pardoned many federal offenses that are weed related. What effects do you believe this is going to have on the Black community moving forward? Eric, I'll start with you on this one, okay?
I actually think it's going to be beneficial because marijuana has less physical effects on us than liquor. And you do know that there's a statistic, I actually just read it last week, that marijuana usage has decreased liquor usage. And you know they intentionally put liquors in every hood.
Right.
There's a liquor store in every single hood. There's an ABC, whatever you want to call it. And that's not a bookstore.
Yep.
Yeah, basketball court and a liquor store. And they're saying liquor sales are actually going down in Black areas because of it. And marijuana doesn't necessarily have the same effects. It does have effects. I'm not saying it's perfectly fine. I'm just saying it will have less. But people are also hearing that once it's decriminalized and it's no longer a federal offense, that marijuana companies will be able to put their money inside of a bank Therefore, you'll be able to invest in marijuana institutions. You'll be able to own your own. And now the same people who are arrested for selling weed can now legally do it. So it's something they're aspiring to. And you're getting your black people to want to have an LLC or an S corp because they want to sell weed legally. And as silly as that might sound, as much business as we own is the better for our community because now we're taking advantage of tax write-offs and things like that. So as much as I don't want to say, yeah, I don't think it's a good idea to be smoking all the time because it does, depending on what strain, it kind of dulls your ambitions a little bit or make you a little bit lazy. I do think there is a financial and a business upside, especially those who are trying to buy the marijuana stocks that are potentially going to get bought out by the Philip Morris's and the cigarette companies. They're going to buy all of them, so they might actually come out financially ahead as a byproduct. But I don't want to get too far into that. There's some good and some bad. I'll just leave it at that. But I think there might be more good than bad.
Cool. All right, my ladies. Kim, how about yourself? What are your thoughts on this, Marsha L, about Joe Biden dropping the federal charges for marijuana?
I agree with Eric, and I also feel that the more accessible it is, people will, the lure, the excitement of being able to go get it, they're going to be like, oh, I'll pick it up whenever I get a chance. I mean, not saying it's that easy, but it's going, as soon as it becomes like common practice, that excitement of, hey, let me call my guy, is going to die off. And it, you know, like you said, there's good and bad. Hopefully we can capitalize off of it. And again, if they can drop all the petty marijuana charges, let's do that. Because I mean, literally they can presume, oh, it smells like marijuana. Mind you, you can just be driving on 95 and smell marijuana. Like you're on the actual highway, you can smell it. So to say that that will give you authority to search someone's car is asinine. It's ridiculous. Let's just go ahead and clear out the air and move forward. We have bigger issues. Opioids, fentanyl, those are things that need to be off, and that's a whole nother story for another day.
Methamphetamines. That affects a different that affects a different crowd. That's why though. All right. Will, how about yourself, bro? What do you think about this decriminalizing marijuana?
Yeah, I mean, just piggybacking right off of that. I mean, there's a lot more things that's out there that's quote unquote legal, that does a lot worse to the individual on the street. You know, from a usage standpoint, you know, it has very little long-term effect compared to some of the other drugs that are out there. But I guess more so, I kind of think of it on an economic standpoint and sort of just a business ownership standpoint. You know, there's a lot of red tape. I don't know how much people really know about the marijuana industry in the sense of the business side of it, but I know a little bit about it because I used to have a client who was in the cannabis industry in California. So what I learned at that time was, you know, there's a lot of red tape that's going on. Marijuana sales, cannabis industry, dispensaries, they're legal on a state level, but they're not necessarily legal on a federal level yet. So there's a lot of issues when it comes down to getting licenses. You can't just wake up one day and decide that you want to be in the marijuana industry. You have to get licenses and such and so forth. There's red tape there. And there's only a limited amount of licenses that are sold within each state. So we as Black people are gonna have to get educated on that. We need to get up to speed on that because the white people are already on it, okay? But just as far as that, just back to just decriminalizing for the sake of locking the less brothers, for that alone, give more brothers a chance out here to get ahead in life and stop setting them back.
What's interesting is they've actually done studies. We don't smoke any more weed than white folks or Hispanic people, but they incarcerate Black men much more. So we're literally, they say that Blacks smoke less weed actually than white people, but for whatever reason, they get incarcerated a lot more. So I guess the way I look at it, I look at it like this. I used to box with an undercover cop in Philly, and this guy told me that 90% of the arrests that they made in the city of Baltimore were weed related. So 90%. So once they get rid of basically that client, imagine what that's going to do to certain law enforcement divisions and police departments, whatever, across America. That was one reason why I think it was such a challenge as far as decriminalizing marijuana. That's the first thing. Secondly, I don't really have a dog in this fight. I was always a high level athlete. So weed, alcohol, I had other vices. Those just were not mine. But Kim, you made a very good point though. I traveled to Amsterdam or whatever to kickbox for a little bit over there when I was in my early 20s, and it blew my mind because I'll say it like this. You very rarely saw the Dutch just getting like high as a kite because it was so readily available. And I think that, like you said, once people remove the stigma of smoking weed and getting high, whatever is something that bad people do, I honestly think people are gonna smoke less. I mean, I'm thinking about. I'm just keeping it completely honest. So I guess we're gonna kind of see how it is. But I do think just the fact that it's gonna lower the amount of people getting incarcerated for little petty marijuana crimes is a good thing.
We have to touch on. You said 90% of the arrests were marijuana related.
Undercover cop I used to box with in Philly. That's what he told me. He was just like, it's gonna be very hard. This was like 10 years ago. He's like, it's gonna be very challenging to do that because that's our number one client basically.
Think about it. They're going to private prisons, right?
Yep. Oh, exactly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We know. We know.
Right.
We know.
All the sentences. Come on, man. Can't nobody say this isn't a setup for our community when they're targeting our people for longer sentences for something petty. Come on, man.
And like you said, and there's no statistical evidence that says that we smoke more weed than any other culture. Literally, there's nothing. I mean, I went to some very elite schools or whatever, particularly in grad school. I saw more drugs at the quote unquote white parties than I ever did at the black ones. Seriously. So,
yeah. Boy who went to Rollins College, very elite white school in Orlando, Florida. He said he went to a party. They invited him because he was, in their business school or whatever. He said they had a mountain of cocaine at the party. He's like, Eric, I've never seen cocaine in my life. And they're just walking up with a straw. And I was like, you're joking. He's like, no, dead serious. It was there. Yep. I was like, how many black people were there? He's like, me and one other guy. I was like,
got you.
How they roll, man.
In the 1960s, during the era of Jim Crow, 80% of our black children were growing up in dual-parent households, and roughly 75% of our black women were married. In 2022, sadly, 70% of our black boys and girls today grow up in single-parent households that are led by women, and 70% of the households do not have fathers inside of them. The black income gap has obviously seriously increased since then. What does this mean to the black community, and how do we bring back the two-parent black family? I'll let you start with this one, Marsha L.
Okay. It's a shocking statistic, but I do believe we can overcome this by going back to the root and morality and purpose. There was being married at one point. Okay, if we have the religious reason as well, because to honor God, very important. We also had an economic advantage, and it's ironically enough, I was just watching this earlier. They were like, even if he was, I loved it because he's very candid. He's like, even if I'm making $35,000, if I can get my wife on, then we'll make 60. And then there was an economic purpose as well. And so when we have a saturation of feminism, which I'm all about being self-sufficient to whatever extent, but there needs to be a going back to the root and purpose, and we need it's really imperative. If not, it's going to be harder to break that gap. A lot of women are making a lot more money in the black community. That is very true, and we do have some issues being played. But I'm on the phone with 3 very successful and educated men, so I feel like there's a lot of promise, and we have to work on not using men for money and men using women for sex, because then we will have a basis. I think it's okay, Eric.
Got you. Eric, you next, bro. What are your thoughts on this question?
First of all, black love is amazing. My mom from a long time ago, she told me, I'm raising well-disciplined black men, and I need a black woman to benefit from this. And I was like, all right, because you know what I'm saying, I think she might have seen some things in her day that she didn't like. So I think it's all about returning to the root, man. Honestly, social media can be distracting, can be used as entertainment, but also it can be used as advertisement. There's nothing wrong with sharing the prosperity and the joy you're having from your black family marriage. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we're together. We have 3 kids. We got 3 properties. We're doing this much a year. And there's nobody else on the earth I'd rather do it than this black woman right here. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we have to promote it. And that advertisement, there's nothing like demonstrating your successes and why they made you successful. There's nothing I love to tell people more than I would not be where I am right now if it wasn't for my wife. Every interview I went on for every job, yup, talk about it, Chris. He'd be there up 1 in the morning prepping me with questions. How are you going to answer this if they ask you this? How are you going to do that? How are you going to demonstrate your skills to them so they know you can handle this job? And if they ask you about pay, she's like, you better not shortcut yourself now. Because, they ask you, like, okay, the pay range is this. What do you want? She's like, you better ask for the top. And you feel more confident rolling in because my queen was behind me the whole time prepping me. You know what I mean? And when I get the job and you come running home to her like, baby, I got it. Now she gets to benefit from all this extra money. Now she's thinking, hey, we need to buy this business. We need to get this property. Now we have more to work with because we're always working together. Yo, I always felt like the black man and the black woman, the way we go hand in hand is like none other. And we just need to promote it more, rep it more, and just, I feel like the music industry and entertainment has tried to make black women and black men at odds. Yeah. But we were never at odds. We're always meant to work together. So it's all about promoting it and showing people the fruits of what happens when we get together.
Got you. How about yourself, Will? The black family, how do we bring it back together? And by black family, it can be if you're interracial, whatever. I don't care. I want to see more black men getting married. I want to see more of us. I want to see more of our people walking down that aisle because that's the best way to build generational wealth. Period. What are your thoughts on this question?
The community as presently constructed is broken and it's not going to get fixed. I say let it burn, start over. I think that these conversations are basically, spitting at a house that's already burning. There is a concept that I've heard about. Haven't necessarily shared it to too many people. Black separationalist. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that, black separationalist.
I haven't.
But essentially, it's a concept based, whereas you take the elite, sort of the higher competency, higher productive, those individuals, both men and women, and you separate them from all the ones that are destructive. So separate the productive from the destructive.
Balance
in our
10.
community, yeah, exactly. Right now we have a community whereas too much of the productive are too commingled with the destructive. You have to separate them. And the only way to separate them is to separate for good. Our community is so far in the hole that we're gonna have to let it come crashing down and then rebuild again with two separate groups going their own separate way. I think that it's rather ironic that the higher productive, competent sort of leadership builders that are men, and also the traditional women that want to be with those men, those are the people that really like Kevin Samuels, right? The people that were sort of destructive, the people that wanted to sort of live off the system and have handouts and be entitled and always, blaming somebody else. Those were his biggest haters. Those are his biggest adversaries, right? Separating the productive from the destructive. Kevin was trying to pull some of the destructive people into the productive box, in my perspective. That was never going to happen. Understanding that where things are, there's only going to be a certain segment of us that's going to be productive. Take that group, move them away, and the destructive are just going to have to figure it out on their own. That's my way of doing things, because when I look at other cultures, that's how they do things. The Jewish people, Asian people, Hispanic people, whatever, they're upper echelon, they're higher value, higher quality people. They're going to separate from those that are not necessarily trying to be productive as well. We're the only ones that's still trying to commingle. We got to stop trying to commingle.
Interesting.
Yikes.
Obviously, I come from an engineering background, so I'm a numbers dude. So according to a 2022 study done by Fortune magazine, these are the statistics of marriage, okay? Married people, on average, when you factor in inflation, have 35 times more wealth than single people. 35 times more wealth. And it makes perfect sense, because if I'm making $50,000, my wife is making $50,000, we live on my one salary, and we invest her $50,000 into retirement accounts, into brokerage accounts, or into a business. After 40 years, imagine what that's going to do, or whatever. According to, and conversely, let's take a look at the single statistics, okay? So according to a 2018 study done by the Department of Justice with the Pew Research and everybody, 90% of homelessness and runaway kids come from single mother homes. 85% of men sitting in federal prisons today come from single parent homes. 85% of children with behavioral disorders come from single mother homes. 80% of rapists come from single mother homes. 71% of high school dropouts come from single mother homes. 70% of youth in juvenile delinquent facilities come from single mother homes. 63% of youth suicides come from single mother homes. Girls that grow up in a single mother home are 4 times more likely to be pregnant before they turn 18. Children born into a single parent home are 4 times more likely to move from the middle class into poverty. Children that grow up in a 2-parent heterosexual nuclear family are 4 times more likely to move from poverty into the middle class. Basically, I say that to say this. Regardless of whether you agree with marriage or not, those numbers are absolutely damning. And they paint a very clear picture as far as why I think, as you said, Will, our community, unfortunately, the Black community right now is somewhat in shambles because we're not getting married. We're not pushing wealth. We're not pushing building generational wealth. And when we try to have these conversations, I know I get called a chauvinist, I get called a masochist or whatever, because people don't want to have these type of conversations and talk about, okay, how are we going to fix it? And I think that when you see these numbers from these perspectives, it kind of makes you say, what is going on? And we know what's going on.
Right.
Flip this part up and make it a reel because this is good information. It's gonna go viral. Those statistics are good, Chris.
Don't worry, I will. I'm gonna chop all this stuff up for y'all. So yeah.
That's a fact.
Yep. Lastly, too, hip hop. I want to go back to that question. Do you think? I'm a kid. I grew up with Biggie, Tupac, Nas. Those are my dudes. Drake, Wayne, all those guys or whatever. Jadakiss, those are my guys. Hip hop. Do you think it has helped or hurt the community? Okay. And I'm gonna let you start with this one. Kim, Marsha, you go with this one. Has it helped or hurt the Black community?
Oh my God, it's terrible. Don't be mad. I'm a musician. I get it. But half of I think my upbringing, being that my mom did not let us listen to profanity, helped myself and my brothers. Like in just, it made sense. You have to look back. You know, I know Cosby's going through this, but we had so much great Black television. Think about it. We had Cosby. We had a different world. We had Good Times. We had all these great shows that promoted.
Even 101 in the 2000s with the Black Father.
101. We had so much good entertainment so that we can push. They were even pushing college BCUs and everything. Now all we have is shooting and violence in music. And you have to understand, as a musician, just like you go to church and they set the atmosphere, do you not think these musicians go in and they are paid? They're not, let me not say that. They're in a binding contract to produce music that they have to bring to a label for them to approve. And they are approving this. Fed to our people. So this is not, it's just an inspiration. It was just in my head. Get a life. If Keith Urban goes and talks about bringing up a chopper and shooting up, they're going to say, get out of here. Keith Urban could never do that. Shania Twain could never do that. But the Black artist can go and do that and feed it to the masses? Yep. I beg to differ. The worst thing that happened to Black people, I'm sorry, right now in this generation is hip hop. There was good hip hop, not right now.
Got you. Eric, go ahead. Go next. Go ahead.
No, my sister Kim killed it. Dude, hip hop is when it first came out, it was a message.
KRS-One.
KRS-One, Rakim, all those guys, a lot of, some of it was, like some of that Egyptian stuff, but regardless, they had a message of higher learning. Mos Def was into mathematics. A lot of his stuff was higher learning. Like, they're trying to teach you something. Nas, in his song, If I Rule the World, if you listen to his lyrics carefully, he's talking about some deep stuff. Yeah. Look at the Lost Tribe of Shabazz. The stuff he's talking about in his lyrics was deep. He's showing you illustrations of how information is being hidden from us. But they saw how hot hip hop was, and they're like, wait a minute, we can use this to weaponize against them. And exactly what Kim said, because Young Buck, the rapper, he has an interview on YouTube right now talking about it. He said he had a song talking about protesting the police and police brutality. And they said, nah, that got to get off the album because you're going to cause a riot. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, your lyrics can impact people to believe what you say. And think about what they tell you. They rap about flashy living, jewelry, money, killing people,
Smashing,
right?
smashing hoes.
And smashing girls, receiving fellatio and all types of stuff like that. Now, let me ask you something. Who benefits from you spending a lot of money on jewelry? It's not our community, right? Who who benefits from you buying a Mercedes Benz when you really can't afford it? Not our community. They're they're selling you basically a bad bag of goods. And the thing I hate most about hip hop is the over usage of the N word.
Mhm.
Oh, that's what they said to us right before they lynched us. They called you blank and they killed you. But they said, no, no, no. We swapped off the ER and put A and now it's endearing. No, it's not. Bro, I know what that is. Why? And they want to promote that, promote that, promote this damning culture. And now, as a byproduct, our relationships have suffered. Because if the music's all about, yo, let me see who can suck me off, you know what I'm saying? You're no longer looking for a woman to how she can augment your life. You're looking to see who can gratify you in under 10 minutes. You see what I'm saying? All the music fabulous. Bro, all of his albums are just talking about getting slobbed. It's like, bro, can you rap about something else? And I think it's been so destructive to our community. And I think rappers are the biggest coons on the planet.
Yep. I agree. How about yourself, Will? I'm hearing that New York accent, so I know you got a lot to say about this.
You know, there's an old statement that comes to mind. If you want to know the state of a culture, look at their art, music, movies, media. That's how you assess where the culture is at. What more needs to be said when you look at all three of those mediums, right? The most popular content is all destructive in its message, right? The easy answer is to just blame the white execs who, you know, you want to push something positive, they take it off the album and say, no, put this on. That's the easy thing, and we've been talking about that for decades. In 2023, I think the message needs to be the artists themselves need to stop going after entertainment money, because you're being used as a tool. You're being used as an instrument to promote what they want to begin with. We as Black people, as artists, whatever, stop trying to make it through that space. Our culture promotes entertainment, athletes, but we do not push our politicians, our business class, our intellectual class. That's the class that needs to have the voice. That's the class that these kids need to be looking at and you know, looking to move towards. To me, the answer is it may not ever happen. It's probably not going to happen. But the fact is that the answer is that kids need to stop going after that world and start looking at something that has a long-term value, that can benefit our people far beyond just the fast money, because you have to sell your soul to make it in the industry at a certain point, right? And I can't think of too many people who has gone through that Hollywood world and come out on the other side a better person. Think about it. Who's gone through that world that we can think of on the top of our head?
Maybe Denzel. I don't know.
Maybe Denzel. And you know, you hear a lot of people, like even Terrence Howard, I think he said he's almost getting ready to quit Hollywood. Like, as guys go through it and they realize what's going on, it's like, yo, this is not it. This is not it. And it's unfortunate that people have to go through it for so many years before they figure it out. But if we can understand that at a younger age and start to understand, look at the end from the beginning and start to realize, hey, maybe this isn't it. We have enough data now. Hip hop has been around. I'm from the Bronx. I'm born in the Bronx, right? All these stories that you know, people talked about in the 70s from the Bronx and all that, like those are my parents' generation, right? So understanding there's 50 years of data that we have to say, hey, it's not producing the results that we want. we got to push another direction.
Not at all. All my listeners, I want you guys to Google Little Kim, Google Adina Howard, Google Carlita Lust, Google Vita Guerra, Google some of these artists or whatever, Google Trina, Google these female artists, see where they are. I want you to Google Fabulous. Google some of these cats, see where they are today financially. Google my boy Joel Santana. I still listen to Joel's when I'm boxing or whatever. Google these people's financial status today and what they look like in their physical health. And you're like, this is what hip hop did to you. I don't want nothing to do with that. I know crackheads that look better than a lot of them. So it's crazy. It's crazy.
One more thing, man. Hip hop death. Obviously, most hip hop artists are black. Look at how many hip hop artists have died between 2019 and 2023. Bro, it's like one every other month. Like, it's not a culture that lives a long lifespan. And then some of them promoting the drinking of cough syrup, Future, that lean crap. Bro, there's kids in high school doing it, having brain damage because, man, nothing from it is.
I think between Wayne and a lot of the artists in Houston in that early 2000 era when they was talking about sipping on the scissor and all that, like that's the early times that I can remember that sort of popping off. But yeah, fast forward now, you know, I don't even listen to what these kids listen to now, so I can't even tell you. But from the results that I'm seeing pushed out there, and the results that I'm seeing with kids now being less motivated, less feeling like they want to produce and be productive members of society. These kids just want things given to them, you know, quick and fast. I'm like, I know that the music has a lot to do with that. And we just have to, again, the data is there. It's shown, like you said, Chris, when you look at the results of what this industry has produced over the last 5 decades, it's a net negative. It's a net negative.
Completely in every sense of the word. All right, 2022, to some extent, was the rise of the manosphere. I heard a lot of guys popping up, I'm not gonna say their names, putting a lot of information in the universe as far as what men are, high value men, low value men, or whatever. What are your thoughts, fellas, on the manosphere? Do you think it's helping, hurting, or has no effects on the black community? And I'll say the same thing about feminism as well, toxic feminism. What are your thoughts on that as well? So manosphere and feminism, go. Let's start with you, Will.
Okay. Big picture, I think manosphere content is has positives in it because it is the only sector where black men can speak freely and openly without having to be struck down immediately. I do think that there are rats trying to get into the cage. Obviously it's a lucrative industry, so you're going to have people come in who are sort of culture vultures and try to take their piece of the pie. Fresh and Fit, I think that they're one group that does that a lot. I live here in Miami. I literally live like 5 blocks away from where they broadcast Fresh and Fit. I know some of the girls that's been on that show. I know some of the people that work security in that building down there. It's a low value show. They bring the worst of Miami on this show, and they just rehash the same talking points. And those guys, Myron and the other guy, they're not even Black American, right? So again, when I look at them compared to a guy like Kevin actually cared about fixing the community. Guys like that, they're just there to make a buck. So, you take the good and the bad. But again, I think Manosphere overall is a net positive. We just have to be able to decipher what's the positive content long-term versus, the guys that are just here just to make a buck.
Got you. I love it. Eric, how about yourself, bro? What are your thoughts on the manosphere? A lot of stuff popped off in 2022 about what are your thoughts on the manosphere? Is it helping, hurting, or has no effect on the black community?
Man, I 100% agree with Will. He hit it literally on the head and he drove it through. Some of the people in there are actually giving very, very valuable information. So like, what I'm saying, some shy guys who are trying to date because they want to find their partner. I think his name is MTR, that gentleman. He shares his testimony of how he was dating a young lady and he was working for her, giving her his money, but she said she had like cervical cancer or something, and so she wasn't able to have intercourse. And he's like, "It's fine, I'll just do whatever I can to like take care of you and protect you." And he ended up finding out she was sharing her womb with any and everybody, and
Except
he was
him.
out there trying to be the good guy.
Yeah.
And I feel like stories like that can help guys who, because we all have a mother, and we never want to see a woman struggle. And cervical cancer is rough, man. To see a woman go through that, but to find out that dude was being lied to and being used, sometimes testimonies can help men be like, okay, let me look for a woman who can be honest with me, um, and we can get into a partnership that can lead down the road we want to be. So once again, like what Will said, it's all about who you're getting your content from, and is their message quality? Are you learning from it? Or are they like fresh and fit, just trying to bash and just finding the lowest of the low on the earth and just coming out with all this scum? So yeah, I would say I think it's a net positive.
Got you. How about yourself, Kim? 2022, there's a lot of content about the manosphere. Do you think it's helping, hurting, or has no effect on the Black community?
This is the first time me hearing it, but I will take your word for it, guys. And it's just good to know that you guys have a forum to speak your mind and share your experiences, and hopefully women can learn from that too and be appalled by some of these behaviors and can grow to be better.
Gotcha. I love it. And lastly, 2020.
Chris, what's your thoughts? We need your thoughts on that, bro.
Okay. I'm going to be completely honest. I was very blessed. I grew up with a very masculine father. My father was U.S. military, and he was his life was a complete 180. When he found Christ, he was in the church. When he was not in the church, he was. I heard stories. I will leave it at that. But my father, he taught me how to be a man, both the good and the bad. And as a result, I like the manosphere because for me, I was taught, okay, if you want to get a girl's number, this is how you do it. If you want women to approach you, this is how you do it. If you want to be a real man, this is what you need to do. If you want to learn how to fight, this is how you do it. If you want to basically stack your paper, this is what you do. I had a father who taught me how to be a man. So when I got to the point where I wanted to approach women, I didn't have to worry about approaching them. They approached me because I had a father who taught me how to be a man. And the manosphere has taught a lot of beta males how to be men. It's taught them, no, you do not tolerate a woman talking to you like this. Your life matters. Your money matters. No, if you do A, B, and C, you don't have to worry about chasing women. They're going to chase you. I think the manosphere was like that older brother that a lot of guys did not have. And it kind of taught them basically the ropes, if you will. I will say this, there are a lot of bums. I'm not going to say their names, Will. It's funny you say that. I'm just going to leave it at that because I know exactly what you're talking about, the building and everything. There are a lot of bums out here that are trying to just culture vultures that are trying to eat off of the manosphere. And I don't particularly care for those individuals. I don't care for the channels, and I don't care for their content. I think that you can uplift the community the way Kevin Samuels did, but you can also tell the truth or whatever. And sometimes you're gonna hurt people's feelings, but I would rather hurt your feelings and stop you from running into a burning house and basically lie to you to your face and then you die. So I think it's been a net positive. You just have to be careful who you get your knowledge from, if you will.
Right.
Yep. 2022. I saw a lot of back and forth about feminism. Toxic feminism, non-toxic feminism, or whatever. What are your thoughts, I guess, everyone, on feminism? Do you think it's helping, hurting, or has no effects on the Black community? I'll start with you for this one, Will. I'll start with you. Say the ladies for last.
Destructive. 100% negative. It goes against, number one, on a biblical level, it literally goes against every principle that the Lord has, or God has put in the Bible, for what a woman needs to be. Feminism ties literally to the Jezebel spirit. And for those that are sort of spiritual and sort of know that, the Bible, you sort of know a little bit about what the Jezebel spirit is about. Again, you can look at the results, right? Kevin talked a lot about, prior to 1960, we were married at an 80% clip, and now it's whatever it is, 30%, whatever it is. And the point of reference is feminism and how everything has completely shifted within our culture. Kevin used to say that feminism has done to us what Jim Crow, slavery, chattel slavery can never do to us, right? So I can't think of anything that positive that's come out of it. Community, the foundation of building community starts with marriage, starts with family. And when you attack that, that's the foundation. Everything else above it is going to crumble. So it's no surprise that the community is in shambles when marriage is not happening, right? And feminism is a direct byproduct of that. I'm thankful for the fact that there is a movement for traditionalism that's happening within the social media space, especially for the younger generation, the Gen Zs, the alphas that's coming in behind us. So that hopefully, in 20 years, things are at least trending in a better direction. But, again, overall, feminism has not done anything constructive for us. I can't think of anything that is done constructive for the family. And I wish I could just snap my fingers and it was just gone, man. It's horrible.
Got you. Thank you for your honesty. I appreciate it. Eric, I'm gonna let my lady go last for this one. Eric, how about yourself? What are your 2022? There was a lot of there was a rise of feminism as well. What are your thoughts on feminism? Do you think it's helping, hurting, or has no effects on the Black community?
Well, I don't believe it's for our community. I believe it's for the Anglo-Saxon Caucasian community. I don't really feel like it has any purpose over here. And when our people are trying to copy or emulate that stuff, it's dissident. That chord just doesn't sound good. It doesn't work with us. So I kind of agree with Will. Funny, I had a coworker. We were talking, and I was talking to one of our male coworkers, and he was nervous about talking to the director about something he felt we needed to change. I was like, "Come on, man." I was like, "Man up and talk to him, man. Don't worry about the outcome. Share your piece." And she stopped me, and she's like, "Don't say man up. That's not right. Feminism doesn't agree with that." She's like, what you say? By saying man up, you're implying that only men are brave. I was like, what? And no, she literally, and I was like, okay, so I played along with it. I was like, so what do you think I should say? You just say, she was like, just tell him, be brave and go talk. I was like, okay. And I let it ride. And then when she walked away, I was like, bro, man up, go do what you gotta do. And I see how they try to tell you basically everything you're doing, and it's an attack on masculinity. Oh, don't say that, or don't do this. And I'm like, nah, man, I'm gonna say what I want because I feel like that's the message I need to deliver. So once again, I don't think it has helped. I think it has hurt, and I do feel like it is a dissidence that does not belong in our community.
Got you. All right, thank you for the honesty. How about yourself? Lastly, Kim, 2022, rise of feminism. What are your thoughts on feminism, and do you think it is helping, hurting, or has had no effect on the Black community?
I had to look it up to make sure if I fell into that category. I agree with Eric when he says it is more, I've seen it more active in the Anglo-Saxon space and arena, but if it is being drawn into it, it has to have an effective purpose. It does work for their movement, but I don't think it would be good for the Black community. I don't think it would be, but I don't know any Black feminine. I might one from Chicago, but it's Chicago. I mean, let's be honest. So it's a different type, but so I don't think, or maybe in the right context, but I'm very big on feminism. Not want to say gender roles, but having those open conversations and knowing what your capacity would be, what is the role you want to play. And the only reason why I say this is because we're in a completely different dynamic in America. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know if I can say this, but I've been in rooms where I've been able to navigate rooms of other type of people as it relates to salaries, as it relates to benefits, than other people that are of this complexion. And that's not because I'm a feminist, and it's not because of the gender role being an issue, but I also understand that we do have rights. And I don't mind. I'm not like, people might say I am a man up because I'm very vocal, but I'm also not timid. So if they're using feminism to have courage to speak up and to navigate these rooms that we weren't able to go into, then yes, let's do it. The vice president being a female, that's amazing. I don't think it should be labeled feminism. That might be you know, gathering the courage to speak and to stand your ground, and also, but you have to balance that with femininity and understanding what your role is. I don't think I'm a feminist in my relationship, but I don't know why anyone would be in a relationship if you're a feminist, if it's going to cause strain. So it's a confusing conversation, but in all, I don't know if it would be beneficial for our cause.
All right.
As the Black people, I don't think it would be effective.
Yeah. There's a book I would advise all you guys to read. It's called The Boy Crisis. And in that book, the gentleman who wrote it, I think he's a Jewish gentleman, actually. He's a scholar out of California, PhD out of California. And he was a staunch feminist back in the 1970s or whatever. And he said he drifted away from feminism around the 1980s because he started to realize that feminism had nothing. Originally, he was a part of it. It was all about empowering women. You wanted women to basically get paid more. You wanted them to have be able to get a credit card, stuff like that. He said he started noticing, however, that what happened was it stopped being about empowering women and it became 100% about taking the men out of the home or whatever. And when this Jewish gentleman noticed that, he was like, I can't get down with this, because once again, he's a family therapist or whatever. So he broke down on a financial as well as professional level what happens when you remove the man from the household. And some of those statistics that I said earlier, he was one of the groundbreaking people that basically discovered what happens when you take the male out of the household. So he says he doesn't ride with feminism anymore because it's not about actually empowering women. It's about removing men from the home. He also said that another effect of it was its express purpose was to make women masculine and to make men feminine, particularly minority men. So I noticed just with a lot of people who that I'm around, who I talk to or whatever, there is it's like there's kind of like a dual meaning to it, in that they essentially go out of their way to completely emasculate the Black male or whatever, but they kind of somewhat still big up other races of men. And it's funny because this is for some statistics. Right now in America, there are 41,000 Black males that are lawyers. There are 35,000 Black men that are medical doctors. There are 130,000 Black men that are engineers. There are 75,000 Black men that are scientists. There are 45,000 Black men that are financial advisors. There are close to 280,000 Black men that are in science, technology, engineering, math. There are less than 300 Black men in the NBA. There's less than 1,000 Black men in the NFL. And there are less than 1,000 Black men basically that are signed to major record labels. So there are literally over 500 times more Black men that are like you, Will, that are in finance. There's over 500 times more Black men like me that are engineering. There's over 500 more Black men like you, Eric, that are basically professionals, than that are rappers, than that are in entertainment or whatever. But they never show that. And I think there's a specific agenda to do that. And I hate to say this, but I think feminism is one of the reasons why. So that's, I guess, kind of my take on it, if you will. And at the end of the day, I think that taking the man out of the household and us not getting married, it's just an agenda to basically keep us divided and to keep us poor. And unfortunately, I think it's working. So that's my thoughts on that. All right, guys, we have come to a close. I have thoroughly enjoyed this, everybody. I think we could talk all night about this, and I've loved the energy about it and everything. So with that, with our outro, let's do this. Will, what are your closing thoughts for the Black community and your goals for 2023?
Starting with the Black community first, there's a lot of work to be done, but at the same time, we have to recognize that not everybody's willing to do it. Red pill knowledge is, separating what should be from what actually is. And I like talking about what actually is. I know that there's only going to be a select group of people that's actually going to want to do the work. And I think that we need to be able to find those people, have us come together, and then figure out a way forward as we go 2023 and beyond. For me personally, my goals for 2023 would just be to continue to prepare myself for the next segment of my life. So me personally, I build my life out in 5-year increments. So in this 35 to 40 increment, I'm really focused in on getting my investment money up so that by the time I'm into my 45 to 50 increment, I'll be able to either be working 100% full-time for myself, and or I'll have enough investment properties that I can just, or I should say passive income, that I can sort of live off of that. So now it's just, I'm still, you know, working the corporate life. So I still have to continue to get my knowledge base up, get my networking up, which is something that I'm building, you know, right here in Miami on my own. But it's, again, overall, it's just continuing to get my knowledge base up as I get ready to transition into my, you know, 40 to 45 increment, where I want to be able to have both the knowledge and the income so that I can be in a position to transition out of the corporate world and be able to work for myself 100% full time.
Absolutely, man. That's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. How about yourself, Eric? 2023, what are your personal goals, and what are some goals that you like, I guess, kind of see for the Black community?
Yeah. So personal goals, I want to obtain another certificate in IT, and I want to start doing some consulting work on the side along with my current job, because some of this consulting work can start getting that W-2 income significantly higher. And you know, on top of that, I have a group of friends. We want to start getting into the public schools that are Black or predominantly Black or in the Black areas. And we want to start teaching these kids about STEM, science. One of my friends is a nurse. One of them is a finance type gentleman. And, you know, I work with computers and IT. And we want to start talking about, like, obviously, so a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs, and I totally support that. But for those who don't have that vision, let's get into some careers that will get you, you know, your 100, 150, 200, get some good money so you have the disposable income like Will was talking about earlier to invest. One of my main goals, I just want to pay this house off that I bought for my wife. And once this is done, it's going to get gangster around here. So that's it, man. Just because y'all know what happens once the house is paid. So
yes.
Just once again, build my education. I want to be a student of life, and I want to never stop learning. I want to expand myself, but also do the things that are going to benefit my family and benefit my people. So educating those, because like Will said, when he was talking about those who are productive versus destructive in our community, and I'm not sure if destructive is the word you use, Will, so I apologize if I'm misquoting you, but I think some of the people who are being destructive might just not know any better. Because remember, Harriet Tubman, she was saying, like, I could have saved a lot more people if they realized, like, yo, you're a slave. You realize that, right? And I can help you be free. They just thought that's how life was going to be. So for those people who just don't know any better, if you can educate them, and I want to get them young, man, that would be a blessing and a goal for me. So that's what I want to do for 2023.
Let me just jump in really quick, right there, and I'll give it over to Marisol after done. So to piggyback off of that, here in Miami, I'm actually building my social network with my guys. I'm having to do an IG plug, Chris, really quick.
Absolutely.
On IG, I have a new page I just started this year, the Gentleman's Gathering, all one word. All right. This is sort of our social network, our social club that we're building with productive, upper echelon, upperly mobile men. This is something that I want to eventually brand it and be able to, replicate it in different cities. But I basically right now have a crew of about 25 guys, and we meet maybe once a month, go out to a nice restaurant or whatever. I'm dressed in the nines, dressed up really nice. Chris, you've seen some of the stuff on Instagram right then and there. From there, we want to open it up to whereas we use some of our skills. We use some of our skill sets that our guys have to be able to take it into the community, do community outreach events. We've already started to partner up with a nonprofit that provides food to the homeless right here in Miami. We're gonna get into the Miami-Dade schools as soon as we dot some I's and cross some T's. But the point is, we want to be able to both build our network value as Black men, but then be able to take our talents back into the community and be able to give back as well. But we need to find those young men who are, exceptional in their own right and already doing things productively in their community, and we can help enhance them. I would love to be able to have a mentorship program with young Black men, 16 to 25, as they're getting ready to transition out of high school, college, have them have a built-in network of other Black men right there at their disposal that they can pick up the phone and call and ask for some advice for, or somebody who may be able to plug them into a certain job, whatever the case may be, because jobs are a lot harder to get right now. But if you have a network of upperly mobile, senior level Black men who can help you out at 18, 19 years old, that's going to put you way ahead of where I was at that age. So it's something that we're still building. It's in the concept phase, like I said, but I'm enjoying it. We have another meeting this Saturday to discuss the calendar events that we're going to do for 2023. But I definitely want to make sure I connect with everybody after this, so that we can sort of continue the conversation offline as well.
Absolutely. So the best for last, Kim, 2023, what are your personal goals, and what are some of your, I guess, goals for the Black community in 2023?
Yes, I keep it brief. Coming into the new year, I'm a New Year's baby. I took some time to pray as always and create a vision board. And it's crazy that Eric, I don't know if it's telekinesis, but I literally said, I heard the Lord say, become a student again. You're too complacent. Go in. So I bought Audible. I have books that I have to read. I signed up for a random real estate course, passed it, got my license, did all 3 steps. So I'm a real estate agent now. Don't ask me why, because I said, Lord, I want to be a real estate developer. And I said, if I need to, that's what I wanted. That I had already said I wanted it to do that. I had to stack up the income, and I was like, I'm in the position. But in the field, it's crazy. It's a colleague that I work with, an attorney that I work with. He was like, did you get your? It was on the other side. He was like, did you get your GC license? And I was like, how did you remember that? He's like, yeah, you told me that 7 months ago. Mind you, he doesn't work on our side. And I was like, I dropped the ball. God sent someone else from the other side to keep me consistent. So I started on that. I have all these connections, and it was just, it's always important. I think last year I wanted to be really present, and I'm so glad because I did so many great things. But I asked the Lord to just keep me disciplined and doing the not so fun things while I enjoy the glamorous parts of it too. So a balance of that. And I'm having fun with it. For the Black community, my goal is I want to create sustainable work. I do target the disabled community, or the community with, to preface, I'm going to Dubai this year because the disability community, what we would call the disabled community, they call it persons of determination. That goes to show you how much respect that country has. And so that is my niche. That is what I'm working on. And I think that we'll be able to impact all races. But of course, my heart is always going to be for the Black community. So I'm just trying to, my 5-year goal, I do it in 5-year increments too. I crossed into 30 and I met my goal. And I think now I'm just excited to do more things and give out more and plant more seeds for the generation to come.
Absolutely. I love it. If I were to answer this question, this is the year I want to become a real estate investor. And I've been talking to my wife about that. Financially, we hit a milestone with our investment accounts and everything. And I'm very happy about that. And I want that investment account to continue to grow. Additionally, I want to also create a lot of digital e-products or whatever. I'm realizing that the medium that our generation, the generation behind us, the Gen Zers, they read, but they kind of more into like podcasts and TikTok videos and things of that nature. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a different medium, different times. You got to roll with it. So producing a lot of digital e-products for the client, for my customers and everything, and for the next generation, because I realize that's how they want to learn and everything. Additionally, I want to educate those who actually want to help themselves. Will, you touched on the concept of Dr. W.B. Du Bois 100 years ago, talked about the talented 10th. And that was a kind of controversial thing when he said it back then. It's going to be controversial now. But I have learned that you can only help people who want to help themselves. So I'm going to produce the content. I'm going to keep doing Financipation. I want to educate as many people in the world as possible because I am sick and tired of our people not being financially illiterate. And those are my goals, basically. Try to help the ones who want to help themselves and produce the content. And closing, I'll say with this, Once again, there are 41,000 black men that are lawyers. There are 35,000 black men that are medical doctors. There are 130,000 black men that are engineers. There are 75,000 black men that are scientists. There are 45,000 black men that are financial advisors. There are over 280,000 black men that are in the STEM fields. There are less than 300 black men in the NBA. There's less than 1,000 black men in the NFL, and there's less than 1,000 black men that are signed as rappers. How in the world have we allowed hip hop, Hollywood, and this stupid agenda to basically say that we are only rappers and entertainers when there are literally 600 times more of us that are basically in science, technology, engineering, math, healthcare, law, and finance? It's ridiculous. And I want to change that. I want more of our people to start seeing men like Will. I want more of our people to start seeing happily married men like me and Eric. I want more of our people to start seeing Kim. This girl, she's very humble. She has one leg and she has signed 6-figure modeling contracts. I modeled for a little bit. I know how hard that industry is. That's Kim. That's insane. That's amazing.
The $1 million smile though. I see you.
Hey, Kim, you're on mute. You're on mute. Kim, you're on mute.
Hey, post about it, but I was running around today. Today, Tara Banks commented under my video and was like, "You're gorgeous." And I'm going to create a video because I want to thank her and give her flowers, because back in the day, she had a show called America's Next Top Model. And then we had the making of the bands. And one thing I got to give Diddy his flowers too, they never made it look easy. And that's why I never stopped. They showed how much grunt it took to get there. And so for today, for her to write that under my comment, I screenshotted it. I'm going to do a video later, but it's just an ode to really never giving up and believing. Because who would have thought? If I told someone 10 years I was going to do this, they wouldn't believe me. But sometimes that just gives you the fuel you need. And I was happy to do it because I knew that that was part of my purpose. So yeah, it's crazy.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. Thank you for this. Will, I'm gonna have you back on the podcast, bro, for real. You're gonna be back on the show, all right? Kim, thank you once again. You're a gem. Your man, he's a lucky guy. And whenever you guys go down that aisle, definitely make sure you invite me and my wife. Eric, thank you, bro. You were one of the black men that said, Chris, when you get married, it's a beautiful thing. And it's because of guys like you actually jumped the broom and did it one day. Okay. So appreciate that. Yep. Thank you, everybody. This channel, Financipation, is all about making money. It's all about saving money. It's all about building generational wealth. And it's all about financially emancipating yourself from generational poverty. Please like, please comment, please subscribe. You can find me on Instagram at @thereal_Financipation. My Facebook page is Financipation. You can also check out some of my digital, my e-products below. And if you would like to book a financial consultation session with me, by all means, my information is going to be below. So thank you, everybody. The State of Black America 2022. And we're going to move on to the next one, okay? Take it easy, everybody. Have a good one. Peace.